And so we're gonna go all the way down and read, from read going up. So bear with me. Let me just make sure I got the right page. So if if the prosecution service in Ireland did not prosecute this case, my only thought in regards to this is because of the deleting of text messages. I think they thought that would not go well. The CCTV as well. I think they probably thought, okay, you may have the doctor opining to what was said to the injuries that you have, but these may not be enough. Those photographs may not be enough because so the CCTV. I want to see how it must have been very damning then, because they can see it live. I'm just reading, so I don't know their entire content because it's not being described. Hopefully this one, what we're about to read here, describes what happened on the CCTV. Okay, so let's move on. Nikita take the stand. Remy Farrell for Conor McGregor asked Miss Han about when she says she got in a bath in the hotel room at the Beacon Hotel. Gather photos from the hotel are shown to the jury. Mr. Farrell asked Miss Han to look at photo 16 of the bath. Miss Han confirms that that is the bath she was talking about. So we are still in the cross-examination. It's a slightly fancy bath with chrome taps. Mr. Farrell says and asks, is that what made her think it was the Morgan Hotel? She says yes and adds, just the interior. Miss Hand, when asked about period of time when they got out of the car and into the lift, says, I don't remember absolutely every detail of the night. Mr. Farrell asks if she knows where they were going. We weren't told where we were going, she responds. You can see I'm a very drunk woman, quote unquote. I never asked where we were going. I was just in the car. We were having a drink, having a laugh. I didn't say where are we going. Miss Hand says when Mr. Farrell asked her on whether she wondered where she was going in Mr. McGregor's car. Mr. Farrell asks, you don't dispute what's on the CCTV, Miss Hand. Miss Hand responds, I just can't remember. You can see I'm a very drunk woman. I don't remember any of that whatsoever. Mr. Farrell says, CCTV shows you going in and out where signs say Beacon Hotel in large letters. Mr. Farrell points to a photo taken in the Inn Hotel of a reflection of a sofa bed and out a window light in the distance taken at night time. He asks Miss Hand if she remembers looking out the window. No, I don't remember looking out the window, Miss Hand replies. Miss Hand thought she was in Temple Bar. Mr. Farrell says Miss Hand's evidence is she thought she was in Fleet Street Temple Bar. He suggests to her that if she would have drawn to the window, she would have had a good view of the city. The Beacon, Farrell says, is in the foothills of the Dublin Mountains. But your evidence was that you were in Temple Bar. You don't actually have any memory of leaving the hotel when it would have been obvious to you that you weren't in Temple Bar. Miss Hand says she doesn't remember any of that either. Wow. Miss Hand, she doesn't remember absolutely everything. Mr. Farrell says, going back to McGregor's car, she said it had black out windows, tinted windows. Miss Han says, Mr. Farrell, Mr. Farrell asked, could she see through them? Miss Han replied, I wasn't looking around to see where I was. Mr. Farrell says that yesterday, Miss Han had stated she was curious to know where she was. Now today, she is saying she wasn't. Mr. Farrell says it was heard from Miss Han's evidence that she sent text messages that were not truthful, and points to a text she says she sent after claiming McGregor had allegedly sexually assaulted her. A text saying she was having a good time. He says he will come back on that. Oh wow. Mr. Farrell asks when she came home, and told Steve what had happened. Stephen, that will be the boyfriend. The husband. Miss Han said he could see the state I was in. He knew by me that I wasn't right. Mr. Farrell asked, who did she tell Steve she was with? Miss Han says she doesn't remember. Absolutely everything. Mr. Farrell says there is helpfully a recording of what she said to Steve. Miss Han says she didn't know at the time that he recorded her and found out later. Oh wow. Miss Han says she's going to she remembers getting frustrated and arguing with Steve. She says she hasn't listened to the recording recently, and it's probably 2 years since she did. It's a very hard listen for me. You can hear in the voice recording. It's not an easy listen. Steve actually emailed it to me. Mr. Farrell says he will come back to it later, and if it's easier, can provide transcript rather than her having to listen to it. Mr. Farrell asks, can she remember telling him she was in the Morgan? She says she lied about who she was with. I did lie who I was with Miss. I did lie about who I was with, Miss Han says. That's not looking good. That's not looking good. Now, that the reason why I say it's not looking good now is because now you get the idea that she lied to the husband out of personal interest, because she could likely lose all of that if she told him she was with Conor McGregor, starstruck and all of that. This is interesting unraveling of the cross-examination. So Miss Han says she was a very vulnerable woman in the CCTV footage. Mr. Farrell asked Miss Han about where Danielle was when Miss Han alleges she was being sexually assaulted. Miss Han says the sitting room. He says she told Gadai she didn't say anything or do anything to tip off Danielle that something happened. Miss Han says that is because she didn't remember at that stage. Mr. Farrell says she woke up with a man who was not her partner in a bed. Miss Han says, yes, it's your evidence that at that stage you have no memory or recall of either having sex. Miss Han, when I woke up, I didn't remember what happened. Mr. Farrell asks when she woke up in a bed with a man that was not a partner. Did it not occur to you what had happened? Miss Han says she remembers panicking and going to her phone. Said she doesn't fall asleep when out. When I woke up, it was strange for me. I didn't know. Miss Han says she just remembers everyone wanting to leave and says, I didn't understand it. I was confused. Mr. Farrell says that confusion lasted for some time. Is that right? Miss Han says, yes. She remembers going down in the lift, going back up. That's all I remember. Mr. Farrell says she has found CCTV footage. Miss Han says she has seen it and she sees a very vulnerable woman. I should have been brought home. I should have been looked after in that state. Mr. Farrell says there's part on the CCTV in the elevator where Miss San appears to kiss Conor McGregor's arm. She says she doesn't remember that. Mr. Farrell asks, did she check with Daniel after the events? Miss Han says, I did speak to her. Yeah, I can't remember what day it was. I would have seen her as well. She was a work colleague. Miss Han says when she got back up to the hotel room, things were slowly coming back to me. Mr. Farrell says she had told her friends Emma, Jen, Steve, and her mother. I'm at a loss to understand when you told Danielle about it. The one thing that stuck out the most is how she did not, like, I know she can't remember what happened, but did how she's not detailing or looking at her body and saying I'm just wondering, and saying that she was wondering how these bruises and all this stuff got on her. That's one thing I'm not hearing from that examination from her side. Because I don't know about you, but if I had bruising on my arms and it's purple, and like, that's the first thing I'll be querying myself. But it could happen. She could be asking that later on. So let's continue reading. I didn't want to press charges and I was afraid. Miss Han confirms she told her friend Danielle to delete her text messages. She says she did so because she was afraid for her life. Farrell says, so the purpose of that communication was to tell her to delete her text messages? He says she also deleted her messages to Danielle. Miss Han says, I deleted a lot of text messages and told other people to as well. I didn't want to press charges and I was afraid. Okay. I do remember telling her it was Conor McGregor. Mr. Farrell says that Miss Han said in her evidence she told a friend, Emma, what had happened. She had said she told her what she told the jury here, he says. Miss Han replied, word for word, I cannot told you what I told her that night. I was in an awful state. Mr. Farrell asked Miss Han if she is concerned that you might have told us something different. Miss Han says that she is not. Mr. Farrell says she doesn't remember telling her she jumped up and ran out because you thought you were going to be gang raped. No, I don't remember. Miss Allen responds. And you don't recall telling Emma that you ran off because you thought you were going to be raped by the security guard? Mr. Farrell asks. Miss Han says no, and that she was all over the place. I was in and out of remembering things. I was obviously confused at that point, she says. Miss Han says she was just after being brutally raped and things were coming back slowly to me. Whatever I told her, I was obviously very confused. I told her I was raped and battered, and that was the main detail. Mr. Farrell asks if she remembers telling her it was Conor McGregor. I do remember telling her it was Conor McGregor, Miss Anne responds. It's not a crime to tell your boyfriend a lie. Oh wow. Okay, let's see where this one goes. Mr. Farrell says we will hear from Emma Brennan in due course. Okay, so that will be most likely Monday or Tuesday, whichever one of the days. So just so that you know, we'll be continuing this coverage after this reading, after day 4. We'll be continuing this on the next episode of the Unintentional Juror podcast, which should be on Sunday next week. So make sure you tune in for that. If you listen to this on replay or with us now, just saying hi. Let me know in the chat box how you're feeling. and how it's going for you. Uh, and I hope that you guys are having a good day out there. It's been a splendid week for myself. I hope that you guys are having a splendid week as well. Make sure that you hit the like button if you are listening to this on replay, and shout out to everyone that's hit the like button if you're listening to this now. I appreciate all of you. So let's continue reading. It says, Mr. Farrell says we will hear from Emma Brennan in due course. Mr. Farrell says from what Gadai had from her was totally inconsistent with what Miss Hannah had said. Asked if she told Emma to delete things as well, she says I did. Mr. Farrell points to text from her boyfriend Steve. You don't reply to him for some time, he says. Miss Han says she can see that. Mr. Farrell asks if she was in the Beacon during that period. Miss Han replies, I don't know what times I was at places. I don't know times. Mr. Farrell says that CCTV shows her leaving the Beacon at 10:28, so that's in the morning. And texted Steve to say she was coming from town. Mr. Farrell asked why at this stage she didn't want to tell him where she was. It's not a crime to lie to your boyfriend. It's not a crime to tell your boyfriend a lie, Miss Han says. Miss Han says she knew she was in a hotel, but I didn't know what hotel I was in. Mr. Farrell says that Mr. Farrell says that can't be your evidence and points out that she told Gadai she knew what hotel it was. She said the Morgan because of the bath. Oh wow. Mr. Farrell says based off what she said about the text to Steve, at that stage you knew you hadn't been in town. Miss Han, Miss Han, your entire account is on the basis you thought you were. Hold up, let me see. Let me read that again. Sorry. Mr. Farrell says based on what she said about the text to Steve, at that stage you knew you hadn't been in town. Miss Han, your entire account is on the basis you thought when you were in the Beacon and left that you were in the Morgan Hotel in town, he says. Mr. Farrell says Miss Han now seems to accept she knew she wasn't in town. If your evidence is correct, Miss Han, it wasn't a lie at all. You're now telling us you don't remember why you told a lie. Miss Han replies she told him she didn't want to go home and face reality. The reality, when she says that, the one thing that comes into my head is that there is these two realms that exist: the reality that she's been raped, or the reality that she cheated on her boyfriend with, because guilt can do things to people, right? So if what Conor McGregor is saying is true, that it was actually consensual, these inconsistent accounts, these inconsistent statements is what might lose her this case, in my opinion.